Merlin here, and you're watching Adventures with Merlin, where every day is an adventure. Hi y'all, Merlin here. So what I'm going to do today is show you the proper way to wire up a Barco Roto-Phase 3-phase converter to your magnetic starter switch. So this is a diagram I actually found on Google that I saved and I put into my text file here. So on your rotary phase converter, you're going to have three wires coming out. One's going to be labeled T1, T2, and T3. T3 is going to be doing the output leg for your third phase. Okay, so they've got the line comes out, goes up, and comes in to the center connector of your three-phase switch, or your fused disconnect. You can see how it says, and you see it's coming into the third leg. Okay. Your other two legs are tying in to T1 and T2 here. See, there's T1 and T2 for your three phases out. And then you have just your two lines coming in, load 1 and load 2 coming in, or well, line 1 and line 2 coming on off your single phase 220. So I'm going to show you how I wired this up. And the problem is the wiring from your big milling machine is a lot thicker wire than can go into this little switch. So I had to find a smaller wire that would fit into there. So what I did, so I could tie everything together, is I got one of these air conditioner disconnect units here that would normally have the piece that plugs in there to connect everything. Well, you don't want to do that because that would just be making a direct short. If you had that plugged in, that would just be making a direct short across everything because you just got 4 terminals. And on an air conditioner, it's not made for 3-phase. So in effect, what I'm doing is I'm chunking that. That's not even going to be used anymore. And I'm just using it as a terminal block, 4-position terminal block. So now, as you saw in the diagram, you have to have your third phase off the phase converter. So this is the wire here coming out of the phase converter here, this white wire here. So what I did is I ran the orange wire here coming in, powering off the phase converter, where it's kicking back in through here, coming out the connector, coming all the way to the front, and now feeding into the L2 terminal. So then the regular single phase lines coming in off your wiring from the breaker box. That'd be this wire here. I don't have hooked up right now. I just disconnected it. But you'll have I've got the black wire going into line input 3. The red wires line input 1, and like I say, line input 2 is the one going back in and connecting to the center line of the phase converter. Okay, then the other 2 wires coming out of the phase converter here, kind of hard to see, is you got a black wire that's going into the same connector, but the black wires on the input coming out of here, coming off the back side of the switch. See, we got T3, T1, and then T2. So T2 here is the blue wire that would be what's feeding from the red wire coming through the phase converter. So see, it's going to the center terminal here. And then you just have your red wire going from the milling machine itself, your machinery, or the milling machine, lathe, whatever you're running, that's 223 phase. It's going in right there to the red wires there. The black wires are all connected over here on that side. And like I say, the blue wire here and your center white wire, that's the third phase, third leg of the three phase. So that's how that's wired up. It was a major pain in the butt to wire that switch up. What my plan is, I'm going to mount the whole switch assembly in this box on the back side of the milling machine itself, and then I'll wire it into the breaker box up there. I did test it last night. Originally my plan was I was going to mount these boxes on the wall, but as I started drilling into the concrete wall, the concrete was just crumbling like powder, and it was like, okay, no screw's going to hold into this, so had to redo my idea, and I'm just going to mount it to this back door of the milling machine itself. So I'm just going to mount it right there to that middle sheet metal door, and that way I'll just be able to reach back there and hit the button to turn on the three-phase converter. There's the three-phase converter down there. So anyway, that's the correct way to wire up a Roto-Phase three-phase converter. Pretty simple if you have a diagram and understand it. It took me a little while to wrap my head around how to wire up that switch, because I got the switch on Amazon, and this is the crappy instructions that came with that switch, and really didn't tell you a whole heck of a lot. I don't know if you can even see much of it, but yeah, it's this instructions here was a cluster to figure out. I was like, are you kidding me? So yeah, the whole switch thing itself wasn't even mounted in the box. It was flat, just laying in there, because it has a clip where you take the whole thing out. I had to drill out my own holes there. It shows in the thing you can just punch them out. No, you can't. I had to use a Dremel tool to cut those circles out, because they're not even cut all the way through the box. So kind of disappointed about that, because I actually tried to punch the thing out and it actually shattered part of the box. But yeah, I was able to, like I say, cut it the rest of the way out with the Dremel tool. So it's going to work. But yeah, that magnetic contactor starter switch, as they call it. I mean, even this piece here, that little metal part right there, was just laid in the box. I was like, okay, we got to figure out how all this switch stuff even works. So yeah, anyway, I think this switch was like about $39 on Amazon, but it worked. It does work. So it's the right rating and everything. I don't even think the box even told much about what it was. It just says single phase magnetic switch made in China. Of course it's made in China. Where else would it be made? So anyway, it did work. I had it hooked up last night and did test it. And that's the way you wire up a three-phase converter to run a big milling machine. So like I say, here's the diagram. So you can see the diagram again. There's your T1 and T2 outputs that connect into your lines coming out of the switch, and then your T3 is the one that's feeding for your third leg of the three-phase. And you can see it says three-phase, the output there. So see, I got my T1 is my red wire, T2 is the black wire, T3 is the white wire. This is how I've got it wired in. And then that wire is into the center terminal of the switch. Input T1 wires to T1 wire output. So anyway, hope that helps somebody else understand how to wire up a Roto-Phase 3-phase converter. Okay, so last part of our video we showed everything not finished up. We've now got everything wired into the power box. To our switch here, there's the 3-phase converter sitting down there on the floor. So if we hit the green button here, that's going to activate the converter. You hear the converter's on now. And you can see we have our light is working. And we turn on our power switch now. There's the milling machine running. And if we turn this on here, there's our table feed working. So everything is working like it should. So once I bolt down the table, we're going to be ready to do some milling. So that's the 3-phase converter down there running, you hear. And then we hit the switch right here. And there you go. So that's how we ended up. That's how I ended up mounting the boxes to the side. Got her wired into the breaker box now. And as you can see, everything there is up and running. So tomorrow I'm going to bolt down my table, and pretty soon we should see some videos of this big old beast doing some milling. So this is Merlin. Thanks for watching, and we're out.